With us today is Minister Moss. Thank you very much. We're expecting Minister Dale Wakefield. She's currently at another related meeting. She's on her way as we speak. Chairman of Tourism NT, Michael Bridge. CEO, Department of Tourism, Sport and Culture, Andrew Hopper. And I'd like to throw now for a couple of quick words to Michael Scott, Chair of Tourism Top End.
Well, good morning, industry, and obviously tumultuous times. We've just come through probably the worst day in what is most of our careers and experiences in the NT. I'm going to not take any time. I'll hand straight back over to Minister Moss. That's who we've come to listen to, and to perhaps see the detail behind the new fund to help small businesses survive, which is survival mode is pretty much what we're all in now. So I'll hand over the reins.
Thanks, Mike. Look, it's obviously we came together a few days ago just to talk about some of the current initiatives that were out to support local business and to support tourism businesses. And we had Catherine Stoddart here, who's the CEO of the Department of Health, to answer some of those immediate health questions. I think it's fair to say that even since then, things have again moved really rapidly, and things have certainly shifted and changed for industry. And I want to acknowledge, I know that watching that press conference would have been incredibly difficult for all of you, and was incredibly difficult for all of us as well, because, working really closely with you, and I certainly know the department working really closely with you for many, many years, we all recognise how incredibly difficult some of these necessary changes will be for your businesses and how you operate going forward. I thank you again for making yourselves available. It's fantastic to see so many people down the line, and I did ask Dale if she would like to join us today, given that there are a number of you down the line that are from Central Australia, and I know that she does connect with you all often. So just to give you some of the overview of some of the things that have changed since the last time we did speak, there is now a self-quarantine period of 14 days for all non-essential travellers into the Northern Territory. There's obviously border control measures that are much stricter than they have been, that are coming into force at 4 o'clock today. And again, those will have huge impacts on the tourism and hospitality industry. But I think it's important that today we do focus on some of the packages that have been since announced over the last couple of days that you may be able to access to help you get through this immediate period, and then looking into the future to that rebound and recovery as well. So there has been a $66 billion additional assistance package announced by the federal government. I believe that the federal Treasury websites got a lot of that information on it around the different things that have been announced there. We have announced an additional $50 million package here in the Territory, and that's a business support fund. The Chief Minister has instructed that that is a support fund that he wants to see starting and opened effectively by the end of this week. Sorry, Dale is here.
Apologise.
And what I will do in a moment is to get Michael to speak a bit more about that. So the idea behind the $50 million for the Business Support Fund is it effectively has 3 streams. The first of which is about businesses surviving this current period. The second of which is about adaptation. And the third and final stream, which is about the rebound. And there is an advisory group, it's a skills-based advisory group. It's been set up to help guide and shape that bucket over coming days. And Michael Bridge is one of those members on that particular board. We, as well as a department, will be working with KPMG to get some very specific support for you rolling out the door within the week. And the idea behind that is that there'll be a couple of workshops, so in the top end and in Central Australia, but also that we'll be able to give you some one-on-one sessions with a financial advisor, with an accountant. I think they're 2-hour sessions, Andrew?
Yeah, in total, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have that rolled out by within the week as well, and we will send all of that information out. There are a number of hotlines that you should know about, and we'll send the numbers out via Glenn. There is the pandemic hotline, so if yourself or your staff or anybody you're coming across through your business that you're concerned about, you can call that pandemic hotline. If you can't get through to the hotline, there may well be a local GP that you work with that you can give a call to, but that message is still there that if somebody is feeling unwell, that you do call ahead. There is a business hotline. We will send that out to you as well. And there will today be a Border Patrol information hotline. So for any of those questions that those of you who might be along the highway or dealing with people who are coming up across the border and you have any questions, that will be the hotline for your initial questions. Just finally, before I hand over to various people in the room, I did have 2 conversations with the Federal Minister for Tourism yesterday. Eva Lawler has talked today about a support package around remote essential air routes, and that's really focused on trying to assist in the maintenance of some of those intra-territory smaller routes, say to Groote Island and Tiwi Islands for essential travel. But I have also made the point that we do have a smaller number of domestic routes, for example, that we need assistance in helping to maintain that basic level of transit in and out of the territory. And that's something that Dale and I have talked about, that there is connection between Darwin and other capital cities, that there is maintenance of, at least the basic level of connection between Alice Springs and other capital cities. And also we are working with the federal government about how we can access that $1 billion support fund that they have been talking about, and the tourism projects that we need to be getting out the door in terms of that fund. We have also made it very clear that things like Kakadu, where there is already committed funding, really that work could be coming forward as soon as work can commence, and obviously that needs to happen within current health guidelines as well, but that we've already got committed funding to some of our major tourism assets across the territory, and that work really has never been more critical than it is now. So I'll probably leave it there. I might see if Dale wants to say anything, but again, thank you for coming together, and we will come together as often as needed.
The other thing I just want to touch on, apologies for being late, I was just at a meeting about our welfare response and acknowledging that mental health impacts are going to be very significant through this, and we're also going to have a group of people who perhaps never accessed mental health support before or needed to, or I suppose the other thing we're worried about is the normal ways that you might deal with a major stressor in your life is not available, like you would spend time with friends and family and do a range of those types of things. So we're very aware of that. Whilst there is some national response around national hotlines, we will be announcing another package which is about supporting access to any mental health support that people need, particularly focusing on people who may not understand or know that service system, and also those of us who have dealt with Centrelink know that it's a very difficult process as well, and a lot of these processes are going to be very, I think we'll make them as streamlined as possible, but still when you're under pressure and you're not hearing information in the same way because you're stressed, I think it's really important that we've got those other options in place. So if anyone's got any ideas about that, because it is about making sure, the other thing we're doing is really focusing on non-English speaking casual workers and perhaps people on visas, and making sure we're linking them with casual work, because we know that that would be a group, and in particular in Alice Springs, that tourism mob have been employing as cleaners and a range of other processes, making sure we keep them in a working capacity so that we don't lose that workforce, which we know can be quite transient as well. So just a couple of bits and pieces that I've been working on.
Might hand over to Michael, if you're comfortable, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, both ministers. If I could just re-emphasise the mental health commentaries from the minister. I mean, these are, I promise not to use it again, unprecedented times. Our industry hasn't gone through this to the degree we're about to go through this, and it is time to ask your mate how they're going and provide whatever limited support you're able to do in the current environment. So please implore everybody to do so. I'm conscious of everyone's time, so sorry if I skip through some of what are pretty significant things that have happened in the last few days, but as Minister Moss said, things are moving rapidly. We had a tourism board meeting on Friday, which basically we parked the history of what we've been up to and had the whole afternoon concentrating on going forward. We came up with our own stimulus and support packages, which was submitted and went through Cabinet on Sunday, which was a fantastic result. We then obviously got the shock of the announcement on Sunday night, which really stopped, for the most part, the rolling out of a significant internal tourism stimulus opportunity, which is the voucher system that people have been tossing around and you've heard a bit in the media. Andrew might quickly talk about the key to the NT. That is ready to go and will be forming part of the recovery and stimulus process when or program when it's appropriate to roll that out. At this stage, we're listening watch for what gets announced tonight, whether there's even harsher measures announced by the Prime Minister or whether intra-territory travel is still an opportunity subject to any health travel advice. So we're really treading water at this point in time on that. Obviously yesterday, Northern Territory Cabinet met and came up with a $50 million support package. The Chief Minister called a couple of people in yesterday morning and we formed a group which is now looking at the most appropriate way to distribute these funds. I guess the key to this is that he wants this to open on Friday. We've got to have an application process ready for you guys on Friday with money flowing out the door as of next week. As Minister Moss mentioned, this is initially about survivability and a survival phase. The next one, the next process, which will be in a week or two's time, will be adaptation and the opportunity and the ability for businesses to adapt to what is a new norm. I guess the important thing in this current time is for me to give you as accurate and updated information as I possibly can about the situation to which we've found ourselves in. It's not easy listening. It's stuff that probably no one's even contemplated. And however, you guys have to be armed with making appropriate decisions. Bottom line is we've got $50 million. The government very publicly have said they'll do what it takes both at a federal level and a territory level, but we need to be realistic about that. There's simply not enough money in government coffers around this country to completely underwrite our normal way of life. And so even a massive amount of money, as in the $50 million, is not going to survive our hospitality and tourism industry here in the Northern Territory. Now, whether that's a week, a fortnight, a month, 6 months' time or thereafter is still to be determined. The big challenge, particularly for our tourism industry, that is a long time from being stimulated itself through international and domestic travel. Talking to Tourism Australia, long-haul travel to Australia will be off everybody's agenda twofold until there's an affordable and available vaccine for travel, which they're putting at least 12 months down the track. Let alone the cost that's incurring globally in a lot of our key markets and the the financial implications, and we've seen that just in financial troubled times globally over the last 10 years and the drop in those passenger numbers. So the chances of our international market coming back to where it was in the near term is literally next to nothing. So those that are overexposed to the international market, I would suggest you're talking 12 months down the track before you see any real rebound in those numbers. Unfortunately, our domestic market, whilst we've proven it can be stimulated quicker, and we still believe that's the case, but it's all relative, we will be in an environment where people have used up their annual leave, they've used up their long service leave, they've seen their superannuation funds cut by a third, if not a half, and the like. We obviously have some great positives up here, and we believe we will be an attractive destination once the shackles are pulled off Australian society and people can start moving around, and we'll be ready to inject advertising and stimulus measures into that. However, even if we start seeing green shoots later this year, August, September, October, which seems to be the sort of measures that most people are talking about, I would suspect that that means early next year we'll start to see some serious travel returning. Intra-territory travel, whilst it's available today, we're not sure what that is tomorrow. Intra-territory travel is about a third of our revenue across the Northern Territory from our visitor economy. It's already been significantly shut down with the existing measures and could potentially be shut down even further. We'll make a decision in the next couple of days whether we try to stimulate that in the short term over the next week or two, or whether the travel advice of do not travel even within the territory is so imminent that we would be wasting our money in trying to do that. Either way, we are ready to go. Certainly with Intra, we've parked some money, we've got some great campaigns. Andrew might touch on those in a moment, not so much campaigns, but opportunity to get people travelling really, really quickly. And I think the thing that is undervalued in the Northern Territory is the value of our intra-territory visitation, which, as I say, sits at about 1/3. So we should be able to stimulate that once we have that opportunity. With regards to the $50 million fund, which obviously I've been asked to be part of, we met twice yesterday. We're back in immediately after this. It is a huge amount of money, but I want to make it quite clear that it's somewhere like a week of trading in our visitor economy in the Northern Territory. And it is useless us stimulating the entire visitor economy for 1 week and us being back to the government next week asking for another 50 million and so on. There's just not enough money for this to be going around. And it is going to be an incredibly difficult job, but we've had clear guidelines given to us about our first and foremost proviso is survivability of businesses. Now, we're working on the parameters, what that means, but it will be distributed quickly to businesses that we believe can survive in the near term. And there is simply some businesses that can't survive in the near term. And they will either be excluded or set aside from this fund, or we will be going back to the government and looking at other funding opportunities. Aviation is an obvious one, domestic, internationally, but particularly regionally. And I thank the government for moving so quickly on some of those regional routes. So it's going to be a difficult task to try and decide what those businesses are. I please ask you to get out there and look seriously at what your survivability cases look like. If you have 4 hotels, can you keep one running, etc.? If you have 3 or 4 restaurants, can you keep one going? Obviously home delivery and things like that are mechanisms. The online world for gyms, can we move gyms outdoor if the travel advice is such? Can we have open gyms down on the Esplanade? All those types of initiatives, businesses that we believe that can survive. Now, that level of analysis simply isn't going to be possible in the next week. And so we believe it'll be a much broader sweep in the next week, probably containing a lot more businesses trying to maintain employee numbers and business sustainability for another week or so till we can get down to a position of what we believe is survivability. Very shortly thereafter, and we're giving ourselves 2 weeks, we're really talking about adaptability, and that is changing the model to which we all operate. Online is the obvious one, home delivery is another one. You know, I've spoken to hoteliers this morning that are talking to major mining operations about creating camps within their hotels for those that can't travel back to their home states and vice versa. So the ability for businesses to adapt and show that they can survive this for a period of time that we think's achievable or survivable. And again, this might all change in 2 weeks' time for the better or for the worst. And finally, is to, if that all works to plan, keeping something left there for when we do rebound. And I think it's very, very important to say that this will rebound. It's going to rebound in a completely different environment to what any of us have ever seen before. This is not an 89 pilot strike. This is not a September. It's not a GFC. It's not a SARS. It's not a MERS. It's nothing like any of us have ever seen before. And we have fundamentally changed the way people are going to travel globally, that people are going to interact domestically. And you, the businesses, have to take that on board and make educated decisions about whether you can survive, whether you fit in the short, medium or long term into an environment that has fundamentally changed. And they're pretty difficult words to say. They're words I never thought I would be saying to our industry. But you need to hear it and you need to react accordingly. We are going to be here to best of our ability in that short and medium term. However, we can't do anything about that long term, that structural change that has happened within our industry. And we will take every opportunity we have to prepare ourselves for that future rebound. The Minister mentioned things such as Kakadu. We have great opportunity to do some great things in our 76, 73 jointly managed parks here in the Northern Territory, and we'll be embarking upon that through the department and making sure they are better when we come out of all of this. So there are a number of triggers right across the territory that we hope to start working on. However, it's going to be a long, long time till we get back to the level of activity that we've seen in the recent past. So that's about it from me. I really want to, I said to Glenn the other day when we dragged him in Saturday and we went through some of these stimulus measures, I want to make myself available as much as I possibly can, both to individuals and as groups. Not by any stretch am I an expert in any of this. This is totally unforeseen for me, as it is for everyone else. But for those that want an update, want a regular messaging, etc., we'll try and come up with something, and maybe this is a good forum, and whether it's weekly or needed more urgently than that, we'll come back to you. I'm quite happy to take questions offline. I mean, 180 odd people, it's pretty difficult to get into conversation around here, but some sort of Q&A, everyone's probably got the same top 10 questions. So if we can feed that through our RTOs or through hospitality NT, we might try and get regular daily or every second day information sheets out to people. Most of you have my mobile number. Most of you know how to get hold of me. It might be a while I get back to you, but I'll try and do it within the day and try and keep that information flowing so that you can make as best educated decisions as you possibly can in the current environment. So that's it from me, Minister. We might just move across to Andrew Hopper, who is the acting CEO of the department as of Friday evening, just to talk through some of the specifics on some of the tourism measures and the like that we're doing, some of the programs.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here today, albeit in not the best of circumstances. Just a couple of things that I'll touch on. First and foremost, from a department perspective, we've obviously got carriage of parks and a whole range of other facilities, both museums and galleries and all sorts of things. So we're doing a lot of work within the department to make sure that we're structured to move quickly in responding to the changing health and travel advice. Right now we've got a functioning operations centre which is helping us triage a range of queries, both from the public sector but also from within government, and redirecting. So that's everything from talking to Qantas, to talking to individual operators, to being offering advice to Treasury. So rest assured we're doing the best we can to manage the information flow, but I would be leading you astray if I didn't say it's a significant flow of information in many directions at the moment. In terms of specific activities, and there'll be some further media release on this shortly, if not happening right now, around business support. So we've put together an immediate package of support, predominantly aimed at the tourism operators, but it can be expanded, and we're just working through the feasibility of that. But right now it's focused on tourism operators, and there's two parts to it. The first part is business continuity. So we'll be looking to stage 2 half-day workshops presented by KPMG in Darwin and in Alice Springs. There'll be 50 packs per workshop. So in total, we'll be able to cover 200 individuals. There'll also be 2-hour appointments with KPMG representatives following each workshop presentation for individual businesses. And that target audience is very much around event organisers, suppliers, and also tourism operators. So we've grouped those together. And that's, as I said, more around business continuity. So that's for the organisations that are able to shape what they're doing now because they're ready to do so. So they might be a little bit further down their planning and their thinking, and how they might be able to look after their staff and move forward. The second part is around financial advice, and we're getting a lot of questions. I've been obviously taking calls from a number of operators, and I must admit I don't always have the answers, if at all at times, because it's moving so quickly. But what we're trying to do is find the right people to give you the right answers. So again, working with KPMG, they'll be providing financial advice and planning sessions. We've got that scheduled over the next coming months. It'll be a 1-hour preparation session, and then they will seek to receive a range of pre-agreed documents, which they can then review, and then they'll work with you in a consultation session by business, one-on-one. And what they're looking to do there is look at the financial position of the operator, observe the pressure points based on the financial information provided, look at fixed and variable costs and opportunities for adjustments, and then also look at operational strategies, reviewing alternate revenue streams, which is some of the things that Michael talked about earlier, changing operating models, utilisation of staff and plant, and what can be done, what flexibility can be implemented and adjustments. They'll look at cash flow and strategies for creating additional cash flow over the next 12 months. And please appreciate that whilst that's two what sound like really short components, as I'll explain them there, there's actually quite a bit of working behind them, and we believe that they will provide a high level of support, albeit they are at a very fundamental level. But I think for many businesses, that's where we're getting our questions and queries. How does my business move forward? And each business is at a different point on that continuum, and we need to be mindful of that. So these programs are set and ready to go. As I said, there'll be an announcement today. We're ready to move on them very quickly, and they're also scalable. So if we get into this and the demand is such that we need to increase them, we have the flexibility to do so. Rest assured, we are clawing back from a tourism perspective. We're clawing back every dollar we can to swing back in to support the industry, and whether that's through a future activity to get people moving around the territory first before we tackle what's over the horizon, which is interstate and international. We are literally finding every dollar we can to put back in. In some instances, as you would all appreciate, there's contractual obligations which we can't alter. The money's not lost; it's parked. But any money we can get back, and that is a daily, hourly conversation with our suppliers and stakeholders. So that's ongoing, and we won't stop that either. And I guess without going on about it, I guess I'd also like to say that the whole team, whether that's in tourism or the broader department, are here and available to talk. And we've had a lot of consultation, both at a high level with the industry associations, but one-on-one operators, a lot of phone calls. The team are really conscious that our operators need support. And in some instances, that's turned out to be as simple as having a chat. And to the comments earlier around people's mental health, as I said, we haven't really got all the answers. That's clear. But what we can be is certainly a very good listener and provide you a level of outlet. And what we're finding is people are appreciating even just that as an opportunity. So the team are very conscious of that, very open to it. And again, I've had a lot of calls. Please keep ringing. We'll keep returning the calls. Please appreciate there's a lot of them, so don't feel like we're ignoring you. But whether we can get you a text or get you a phone call, we'll get you something as quick as we can. So I don't necessarily want to go into any more detail, but happy to happy to leave it there for now.
Could I just might make comment the joys of text messages and the like. Glenn's got some feedback that particularly our Central Australian cousins are feeling somewhat left out in my references to Kakadu and the like. Please understand that at every level, Central Australia, and for that matter, Nhulunbuy, Arnhem Land in general, Tiwis, Catherine, Tennant Creek, Uluru and the likes, are absolutely at our forefront. We've got obviously Minister Wakefield.
That's why I'm here.
Is hounding us daily, making sure it's not forgotten. We've got representation from Alice Springs on this committee. I've dragged that in from a tourism and hospitality perspective. In no way, right through to the chief, are they allowing us to forget about any part of the Northern Territory. So, I mean, that's just me talking very centric about Darwin, but please be rest assured that this is all about the Northern Territory together. This is not about, maintaining something in Darwin that's not maintained in Alice Springs. And in fact, honestly, it's probably the reverse, because our regions are a lot more exposed in so many ways than from health as well as financial. It's probably more so about the regions than it is in Darwin. So please take that as a given.
And I think if I could add to, obviously things are moving really quickly, but there's also a range of conversations happening around what infrastructure projects can we move forward. Now, I'm not saying how many that can be, but certainly whether it's at Uluru or whether it's at Kakadu or whether it's projects that are related to our department, if we can bring something forward, we will. And so that'll equally help us when we reach the other end as well. And so we're in better positioned, possibly from an infrastructure perspective. But I appreciate right now we're talking about people's businesses only. So,
ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, and I know that thank you, Mr. Moss, Mr. Wakefield, for your time this morning. They have to race off to Parliament. Thank you to members from across Tourism Top End, Tourism Central Australia, Hospitality NT, Litchfield Tourism, Catherine Tourism Group, East Arnhem Land Tourism Association. A lot of you have given feedback out of the sessions that we've had. A couple of your messages have been here, and I've been getting that feedback that a regular Q&A session workshop with questions pre-submitted that we can move through in the interest of everyone to hear that. Michael, I thank you for your suggestion of coming back again. I think we're going to be taking you up on that offer. And Minister Moss and Wakefield and Andrew Hopper, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our thoughts are with you. Yesterday, for many of you, was an extremely difficult time for your staff. We saw those images of people queued outside Centrelink. We'll be working with you as to how to help your staff get through this. There was more and more information. We'll keep wherever possible focusing people back to the central sources of truth. So, starting point: securent.nt.gov.au. That's a key spot. Fair Work Australia for the information on how you can do the best thing by your staff. And of course, health.gov.au, because your hygiene, how we respect this, how we work together but keep our social distance as a reality, means how we get through this. There are a number of issues that are going to raise. We'll bring this up. Ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. Reach out to your tourism associations. Thank you to Tourism NT. Your staff have been doing an awesome role in this too, Andrew. I want to say that. for a lot of them, it's just so helpless in not being able to get out and do that and getting things. And the other missing part has been mentioned is what's happening on a federal level. They're talking about the money coming out. Many of you are saying, well, that's all well and good, Glenn. When's it going to get? And I know you're feeding that back to Dale at Tourism Central Australia and Alex at Hospitality NT.
Yeah.
We'll keep working on these Q&As. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We'll send out the notice for the next one. Stay safe.